Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And feel free to check me out on Patreon, where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook, as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another YouTube tutorial. I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited to paint. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be doing a space orca. It's a little bit more abstract thought type of stuff, but I really like doing space and I really like doing animals. And my husband loves orca and I love doing mountains and oceans. So I figured, what happens if we put it all together and make one really beautiful painting with all of these elements? And a little bit more abstract in thought, something that's not necessarily realism, but we can still incorporate realism in its shapes and its forms and its lighting, and just have fun with color. So I hope you'll join me. I'm excited to paint this one, so let's get started. So I do have a traceable for those of you who would like it. It is up in my Patreon right now, so you can go grab this at the lowest tier level, which is $5. You'll get this traceable. You'll also get the other traceable that is for this month, as well as every other traceable within this tier, which is all of my live classes here on YouTube. You will get access to the whole vault of traceables. So if you've been eyeing any other classes that you want to paint with, now is a great time to do that. It's near the beginning of the month. You'll get the most out of your subscription. It is a subscription, but you can stay for a month. You can stay for a year, however long you'd like to stay or support. It is up to you, but you will get access to literally everything within your tier. Just a note for this month's traceable, for this class, it is a 2-page traceable. I couldn't really fit it on to 1 page, and there was a lot of detail within all of this, so I didn't want to cut out anything. For those of you who want to use a traceable, I figured it would be easier just to have it on 2 separate pages. You can kind of line them up and then tape them. And then what I did is I went ahead and cut around the edges so that it would be easier to put in the back of my canvas. Unfortunately, if you're using a canvas board, you can't really do this. But if you're using a stretched canvas like I am, you can put it in the back. You can just fit it underneath the frame of the canvas, and then you shine a light through it and transfer it like so. If you do not want to become a patron, that is totally fine. You do not need the traceable for this class. If you feel comfortable drawing it on your own and you have the time to do that, that is totally reasonable and that's totally fine. As I've stated here many times on the channel, this is a painting class, not a drawing class, so I'm not going to go over how to draw this, but as a mother of 3 children and someone who loves to paint, I do like drawing, but I don't always get the time to do both. And since I teach painting, I typically try to focus on how to paint rather than how to draw. So if you would like drawing classes, feel free to comment down below. I'm more than happy to do other classes as well, but a lot of people enjoy my painting classes, so I've kind of just stuck with that. But yeah, so this is the base with what we're working with. So if you do not want to use the traceable, you don't want to become a patron or anything like that, that is totally understandable, but go ahead and draw on your orca or dolphin or whale, whatever you would like to paint for today, your favorite animal, your favorite ocean animal, feel free to do that. And then we are going to go ahead and paint. So go ahead and do that now while I go over all of the other supplies, and then we will get painting, okay? So I have 2 things of water. We're using a lot of dark colors in this painting, but there are other light colors. So I usually have 2 waters, but I specifically have 2 waters today, and I encourage you to have 2 waters because you're gonna need some clean water to go back and forth with. Maybe have one of it be clean water and the other one be your kind of rinse water, because there's a lot of dark colors in this, and because of that we don't want to taint both of our waters. We're gonna want to have clean water to go into when we're putting in the light blues and the whites and things like that. So I encourage you to have 2 things of water, maybe even 3. And then I have a paper towel, my palette scraper. If you have a glass palette like mine, these are really handy. And then I also have a palette knife for mixing. I use this in all of my classes. I pre-mix my colors. It makes it really, really easy to just grab your color and go. It also allows you to pre-mix your colors so that you know that they all work well together. And that is really helpful, especially for beginners when you're not totally comfortable with mixing yet, and you're not totally sure which colors affect the different colors how. Being able to pre-mix your colors and make sure that all your colors are going to work well together is really, really great. It's just a really good skill to have and a skill to build. I could probably mix as I go, but for something like doing any sort of background, especially if you're wanting to do it in one coat and have things very blended, you're gonna want to pre-mix your colors. And even I do this in my classes, or even in my normal paintings. I will pre-mix colors so it's ready to grab and go, because acrylics dry faster than other paints, and so being able to have those colors ready makes it really easy to paint and blend as you go. Because a lot of times, I know when I first started out, I didn't do this, and so I would put one color on there and be like, oh, I need this other color, not thinking, ahead of time, and then I'd pre-mix it, or I'd mix it, and then as I would put that on there, the other color that I already put on the canvas is already dry, and it doesn't blend well. So we are going to be pre-mixing our colors, specifically the background colors. And yeah, we're going to be doing that. So I love using my smallest palette knife for this because 3 reasons. You keep your water clean for the beginning of the class. You're not constantly going in and out trying to, make all the colors and getting all your water dirty. You save your brushes from that much more of mixing and using your brushes. So you save wear and tear on your brushes. And then you also you make it so that your brushes don't get all of that paint. You don't waste all that paint in your brushes. You always have all your paint on the palette. It doesn't go in the water. You may waste a tiny, tiny, tiny bit when you wipe off your palette in between that, but most of the time when I'm pre-mixing colors for the background, all of those generally mix in together anyways, so I usually don't even wipe this off until I am finished with my colors, or I'm mixing a color that is completely different than the background. So those are 3 really great reasons to have a glass palette and a palette knife to pre-mix your colors, especially for beginners. And if you would like information on any of the supplies that I use for my classes, I have an Amazon shop with all of the recommended supplies. If anything in that shop is out of stock or not available, please let me know. I don't always check it. I should, but I don't always check it. And so if there's something that is out of stock or it's not available anymore, just let me know and I can figure out what's the best replacement for that, and I can update my shop. But you can find all the things that I either recommend or that I use in my classes. I also have teacher favorites, the things that I use constantly in all of my classes, as well as I also have a kid-friendly artsy stuff for kids. I have kids 6 and under, so I'm constantly going through art supplies, and I have some fun things on there as well for your kids. So that's just like a little tidbit. So I love talking about my kids, but I will try to stay to class. So yeah, if you have any questions about supplies or anything like that, feel free to message down below, and I can answer those questions even during class. For the brushes for this class, I have my regular brushes out, the ones that I use, my default brushes for all of my classes. I have a 3/4 inch filbert. I also have a smaller filbert that I use just for other things. This one I usually use for the background, and then the one that's a little bit smaller I use a little bit more for detail, and yeah, but I use them both very often. These are my go-to brushes. I have a medium to large round brush. I use this. It's also my texture brush, my cloud brush. I will use it for mixing on the canvas, because what will happen is I'll be going kind of in circles, and it really does rough up the edges. So you're gonna want to get a brush that you don't really mind getting ruined, in a sense. For me, this brush is not ruined because I use this brush specifically for this purpose, and I actually like the fact that it doesn't that it's all kind of roughed up. I realized when I did the this month's Friday tutorial, which you'll see in just a little bit, for my Patreon, it was actually a really good fur brush for doing bigger clumps of fur because of how separated it gets. It had all these beautiful lines of fur, and so this brush actually was really great for that. And it was great for long fur. I have a different brush that I like using for short fur and for trees, and I thought that I was going to use this brush for that class, but as I was using it, I was like, oh, this one's not actually doing what I want it to do, because it's really good for like short hair. So as I was playing with my brushes, I really enjoyed this brush because of how it worked with the fur. So having different brushes with different wear and tear on them is really, really handy. So you're going to want to have a round brush that you can get a little frizzy, and I recommend having one of these on hand because they are so useful. I use it in almost any class. Anytime I need to do a blending, a dry blend or a cloud, or any sort of texture, this is my go-to brush. Okay, so that's that. And then I have a couple other brushes that I use. I have a couple small brushes. One's a little bit pointed, one's a little bit more round. I use them for different things. And then I have a liner brush. I don't know how much lining we're gonna do in this class, but we will see. And then I think I will plan on using my palette knife for some of the snow tops. I want to do a little bit of snow on the background. I love doing mountains with palette knives, so I wanted to incorporate that in here. The reference doesn't necessarily reflect how I want to do the background, but it was just to give an idea. A note on that is this whole image was created AI. I know a lot of artists have mixed opinions on AI art and things like that. I have no problem using it as a brainstorming idea in order to create art. What I physically don't approve of is using AI as a form and replacement for art or someone who could have done art. I think it's helpful in terms of, for me, I use it to expand an image, to create an image as a reference. So for instance, this was all, mostly it was all me, and I did post in my I posted in my Patreon last month of how I came up with this. I wrote in what I wanted, like space and mountaintops with snow and the ocean and things like that. And then I wanted an orca. The orca that came out wasn't totally the way I wanted it to, so I looked up a bunch of reference images of art, and all these things, and I just compiled it all on my iPad, which many of you helped me buy a couple years ago for my birthday, so thank you for that. But I've been able to, with that iPad, I was able to create an orca that I wanted to paint with all these references. So the thing I love about AI is that I get to visualize and create something that I want to use as a reference, but I'm still creating my art aside from that. I'm not just using that, and selling that or putting that on and, saying it's my own. I think anything that can replace an artist is really unfortunate. because AI does take from other artists. And I know a lot of people have their different opinions, and I respect that and everything. But for me, I don't feel good about using AI for something that an artist can replace. For me, I like to use it as a way of enhancing what I can do for a class or for my painting, my physical art, and not necessarily, you know, to replace somebody else. So that's my take on it. So I hope nobody's offended that I'm using AI image, but some of this I did actually use on my iPad to create, for instance, the whale. Actually, it's not a whale, it's an orca whale, which is actually in the dolphin family. But anyways, yeah, so that is what we are using, and you can find the image itself in my Patreon, as well as on my Facebook page, which if you are not following me on Facebook, that is where I post 90% of everything I do, new classes, classes to come, any updates, Patreon classes, anything like that. I post on my Facebook. Okay, let's keep going. Let's move on. So those are my brushes. Other tools that you might want to have is going to be your star, whatever you use for stars. So I like to use a toothbrush because I feel like it's the most consistent in the size of the stars and how many stars I can do. I can get really tiny specks, or if I have a little bit more paint, I can get pretty thick stars, but they're always like circles. I used to do with my thick older brush that gets frayed, I used to do stars with this brush, but I found a lot of times I'll get like splatters of just like paint going down wherever I've splattered, and it's more of a paint splatter rather than a star, and so it's a lot less consistent than I would like it to be. So I switched to a toothbrush. If you do not have a toothbrush that you like, an old toothbrush that you want to use for this, you can also use like a coarse bristle, like a hog bristle brush, something that's a little bit thicker in its bristles and that can be a little bit more stiff. That's mainly what you're looking for, is a stiff bristle brush. So if you have an old brush that maybe has some paint dried in it or something like that, that would also be a good brush to use. Okay, so those are mainly the tools. Let's talk about colors. Now colors, you can have really whatever colors you want. If you want to do greens and blues for this, if you want to do yellows and reds for this, that's totally fine. I'm choosing to use pinks and blues and purples. So those are the colors that I'm going to have out. I still have my my black, white, and brown. I use them in almost every class, though I don't think we're going to be using the brown today. Probably not, but I still have it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and get out my Phthalo Blue, and then I have a pink and a very, very dark purple. This is a violet. These are all from Hippie Crafter acrylics. Don't mind the bottles. These are not craft acrylics. These are full body acrylics. They're just in bottles rather than the tubes, but they are full body acrylics. They are such a great company. They've given me so many free paints, and I love them. I love their paints, as well as just them as a company. So shout out to them. And then also, I also have a couple other blue colors that I want to get out. I have a teal color and then a light blue. If you have any sort of neon color, that would probably be really, really pretty in this. But these are the brightest color blues that I have, so I'll be using these. This one is Master's Touch. It's called Lake Blue. And then I have like this teal color. It says Bright Aqua Green. This is Aaron Brothers, when Aaron Brothers, before they got absorbed into Michaels. This is the Art District. So you don't have to use these exact brands, just the basic colors. I'm just showing you the difference between, this is a little bit more green, this one's a little bit more blue, but they're both fairly bright in their colors. And then the only other color that I will be using is probably my bright pink, which I have to find it real fast. Oh, here it is. Okay. So then I will also be using this color. Now it doesn't show up very well on my screen because it is very, very, very bright, but it's very pink. It's kind of it's a fluorescent pink from Liquitex Basics. So those are the colors that we will be using. And if you would like to, you can probably have a green on hand just in case you want to get a little bit more green in here, but I think we'll probably be fine without that color. So I know that was a lot. That was an almost 20-minute intro. I apologize for that, but there's a lot of information with this class. So hopefully y'all are ready to paint, and hopefully you all have your background. In the middle of the class, I'll go over the painting classes that we are going to be doing in the in Patreon that we started this month, so you guys can get caught up on the Patreon world. And there's now a free tier in my Patreon where you can get updates on anything I post for free. Any posts that I post that are not tier related and are public, you'll get notified. So any freebies or other posts about upcoming classes or anything like that that I don't post on Facebook, that I only post to Patreon, you can get an update if you are a free patron. So you can sign up for that. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's just kind of part of being a part of the community without, and you can kind of see what's going on in Patreon before you become one. Before you become a patron, if you would like to kind of see that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and make our colors. So we are going to start with the background colors. We're going to get out our dark phthalo blue. Let me get this out. We're going to do phthalo blue. We're going to do our dark violet purple. This is going to look black, but I promise it's purple. But these two colors are going to be perfect for our background and creating that really dark color. And then we're also going to need a pink. So I'm going to get out my rosy pink. It's kind of like a magenta color. Get out a little bit of that. Maybe even a little bit of this bright pink. Very neon color. I'm gonna go ahead and move this down a little bit. Okay. And then I'll move this down just so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. And then we're also gonna need a little bit of white. Okay, so what I imagine we're gonna do is we might need to do 2 coats of this background. So the first thing we're gonna do is paint our fish. We're gonna paint our fish and our Orca black in the places that it needs to be black, okay? So that's the first thing we're going to do. And then we will mix our colors. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna take one of my smaller brushes and do this one too, because I am right-handed. So I wanna do these 2 first so that I don't get on here, okay? I'm going to do this first, and I'm just gonna paint these black. And this is so that when we do the base coat, we'll still be able to see everything. And this fish can literally be whatever whatever shape you want. These are not like real fish. They don't have to be real fish. You could, if you have any fish at home, you can incorporate your pets if you wanted to. If somebody has like a betta, that would be a really pretty fish to incorporate. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the left side, and I'm just going to fill this all in. I'm gonna leave a little line right here just so I can not lose the line. Of my my traceable, and I can just keep that there. It's a little tidbit. It's a nice little tip for when you're pre-painting some colors. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my brush, and I'm going to move to a bigger brush. And if you need a tad bit of water to help move your paint, that is totally fine. Just try not to add too much water because it will make it translucent, and we don't necessarily want that. I'm going to go ahead and continue onto the fin. And you can always go back and forth between your small brush and your bigger brush. The thing I'm most focusing on is covering up the white. So I just want to make sure that I cover up all the white texture See all that texture? You want to be able to cover that up a little bit. So I'm going in with my small brush. And I'm just going to go around the whole eye. Alright, there's that, and then we have one more thing to do, which is this back fin. And again, I'm going back and forth between my two brushes so I can be the most efficient. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and rinse out at least the small one. We don't necessarily have to rinse out our big one because we're going to go right back into those dark colors. We don't want to waste the paint. But let's go ahead and mix up our dark colors for this. I'm going to take a big chunk of my blue, my Phthalo Blue, a little bit of my purple. We're just going to mix that together. I'm going to get this fairly dark blue. And I'm going to even put a tiny bit of black and even more purple in it. And that's going to be the dark, dark blue color. And then I'm going to mix some of this same color with just a tad bit of white to see what color it becomes. Okay, so good. And I'm going to go ahead and get out my teal color and put a little bit of that on my palette. Feels like something's stuck in here. Alright, so we're going to add just a little bit of this to our lighter color, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so that's the medium blue that's kind of down here by the tail a little bit. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of this and add a good chunk of white to it. And I want it to get even a little bit more green. So I'm going to take more of this teal aqua green and I'm going to add that to it. Maybe a little bit more white. And keep in mind that we might need to do two coats, so I'm making a little bit more than I think I will use just in case we have to do 2 coats. And I don't have to remix the colors. And if we do have to remix the colors, we'll still have like the base that we can change and add our colors to. Okay, so I think that is good. I think I might add a little bit more green to this one. And then call that one good. And then for our pink sky, I'm gonna grab some of this purple and some of this lighter pink, or sorry, the darker pink. I'm gonna have a pretty purple. And bear in mind that all of this is gonna go on a white canvas, so it's gonna be lighter than this. It's gonna appear lighter than what you are mixing right now because it's going on a white canvas. If we end up doing a second coat, we might need to make them a little bit brighter. All right, so I have my dark purple here in the middle. The color off to the left is just the plain black. So I have my dark purple, my dark purpley blue. I have a medium blue, a light blue, and then I have a medium purple. And then I'm gonna make kind of like a lightish purple, purpley pink. So I'm just using what's on my palette knife and mixing it with that bright pink. Ooh, this is a pretty color. You'll notice it's a little bit different than the magenta. It's got a little bit more of that purpley tone. But if we would have done that pink with the purple, it would have been a darker color, and we want it to be bright. Okay, we might do a little bit of this. I'm just really kind of playing with the colors right now. So I'm going to do the same colors here, but just add white to it and see what we come up with. A little bit of a bright color. Who knows? We might use it. Maybe a little bit more pink. Okay. This looks exactly like the color on the back of the Orca. That's what that looks like. All right, so that's probably what I will save that color for. Okay. So let me go over the colors real fast because I know that was pretty quick. So we have our purple, which is the blue and purple. We have our blue which is just those same colors, except adding white. And then we have the same color except adding a little bit more white. And these two blues, the two lighter blues, have that green in it. And then we have our purples and pinks, which are mostly the purple tone, and this one's the dark pink, and then this one is this purple color with the lighter pink, and then this color is that same color, but just added with the white. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions before we get started. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on the background. I believe this is dry, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to take my big brush. It has a little bit of black on it, but I think that that's okay. And I'm gonna take my darkest color and start putting it on the top of the canvas. I'm just focusing on the top of the canvas right now. And I'm gonna put it mostly on this top part, and on the left side is where this color mainly is. So I'm going to put a big chunk of that here, and then I'm going to go into the purple, the blue. I'm just kind of putting in the main colors here, my dark colors. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my brush, and I'm going to move to my texture brush. This is going to be key for doing this because we get to make this background pop with all these different colors. But we got to do this while it is still wet. And we want to go in kind of circles. I'm going to go in with my pink. Maybe even my lighter pink. Go in with my dark color. And this is going to give it that spacey look. And I'm really just, I'm being pretty rough with my brush, and that's why having a brush that you don't really care about in terms of if it gets ruined, because that is one of the fun things about doing a painting like this. If you don't have a brush to do this with, and I would suggest maybe getting a brush that you can either a brush or a sponge that you can kind of dab with maybe. And I want to go into my lighter blue here. So this would be my medium blue. And I'm just kind of going in circles. Go in here to fill in all these gaps. And I'm going to go into my lighter blue, kind of bring up that lightness a little bit. And again, I'm just putting it on there and then kind of just blending it in a little bit, very kind of abstract-y in a way. And I'm going to start going in with a little bit of white. And I am going over the edge of the, Orca. And then I'm going to dip it in just straight white. And I'm going to switch my brush to a larger brush. And I'm just going to very gently go ahead and put that on there. If you want, you can rinse out your brush. If you still kind of want that puffy look, you can go in with just your your round brush and your white. At this point, I have a little bit too much water in this right here, so it's not doing the same, because usually this is a dry brush effect, so it's harder to use it with when you have water. Don't forget the size of your canvas if you're doing that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do this side of the canvas, this right side. And I'm just going to use what's on my brush already. And a little bit of white to come back down here. And I'm going to do the rest of the white before I go back in to the other dark colors. So now we can start going in. Ooh, there's kind of some pink over here. That's kind of nice. I'm gonna go into some pink. And then go into maybe some purpley blue. I'm gonna kind of mix this purpley blue up. You can even do that on the canvas. I'm gonna rinse out my brush real fast. And I'm just gonna do this part over here real fast, just to make it consistent. And if you ever feel like you went in too far to something and you don't want it to be there, you can get a clean brush and get it wet just a little bit. And you can just wipe it away, just like I'm doing here. You reactivate that paint a little bit before it dries completely, and then you can just wipe it away. And I'm going into my clean water, not my dirty water, and I'm just reactivating that paint. And then I can wipe it off, and I can just wipe it away, if you prefer to do that. For me, sometimes it helps to figure out where my lines are. But if I feel like it's not necessary, then I won't do it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on. I'm going to go into my bright pink. I like my pink over here. There's a lot of pinks and purples over on this side, which I like. But I also like to keep it consistent with that blue. The dark blue, I mean. So I'm going to bring a little bit of that dark blue over here and just kind of dab it in there. I'm barely touching the canvas. I'm going to do the lighter blue right here so I can blend it in with the pink. And then I'm going to go back, I'm going to put the purple, pinkish purple in the corner. And then blend it into maybe some blue. And if you left a harsh line here like I did, you'll need to go back into that darker to help fix that line. Alright, I'm going to go back into the pinkish purple and put it over here. Try to brighten up this color right here. Maybe some light blue right here. And you can do this anywhere else where you feel like you need more color. So I'm just gonna go in with my dark color over here. I'm gonna go ahead and add my second coat now, because this is already dried, so this is okay for me to add this now. And just adding it while it's all wet helps it all blend together. It's almost like you're creating kind of a cloud-like texture a little bit. But they're not clouds, it's just kind of nebula. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of pink on this side to keep it kind of consistent, like it's going across the way. And some other bright pinks over here. And during this phase, I'm really making sure that all the little white specks from the texture of the canvas are covered up. Making sure my sides are all done. Had a couple spots over here that weren't done. Alright, I want to go into a clean brush and grab some white, and I'm going to put some white here on the bottom because I do want it to be pretty white on the bottom here. And I'm just painting the bottom, like I'm not going up, I'm just blending it with what's on the bottom. I'm not going up very far. I'm just making sure that these bottom part is white and blended into. and that the side matches. All right, so now that that is done, we're gonna go ahead and do our, we're gonna go ahead and put in our stars. And then once our stars are done, we're gonna go ahead and do our, the rest of the background, which is going to be the ocean and the mountains. So give me 1 second. Let's see. I forgot what I was gonna do. I was gonna look something up, or look something up in my, oh, that's right, okay. Let's see. Okay. So we're at about an hour. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do our stars. So I'm gonna grab some just plain white, make sure there's no other colors on it. And we're going to get our clean water and some white. And essentially, you want to just make sure that there's not too much water, because then you'll end up with drips. So you want it to be thick with paint, but not too much water. And you can always do a little test on your whatchamacallit. All right, that is pretty good. I'm gonna do a couple more. You don't want to cover up your galaxy too much, but you can always put more in places where you feel like there's more galaxy. All right, that is good. Gonna rinse this off. And I'm gonna take a clean, wet brush and just kind of wipe away the ones that went on the whatchamacallit, the Orca. Just so there's not like dots that we're gonna have to cover up. It'll help make it consistent. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up our background. So I'm gonna paint in these fish again. I'm gonna do it with some black and our dark blue. So you might not be able to see certain parts of the fish. So I'm gonna take my purple and pink, kind of do a little highlight. To the little fish right here, maybe a little bit of light pink. And then this one we'll be able to see a little bit better. So I'm going to do this one in blue. And I'm going to take my clean brush and kind of wipe away this part, because I almost want it to be translucent a little bit. And remember that you can kind of make up your own fish. This is all kind of inspired by. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and give this guy some other colors, maybe on the bottom here. Maybe some purple on the top. Just gonna kind of have a little bit of fun. There. Alright, so I'm just kind of adding some fun colors to this. And anything that I want darker, I'm just going to add that dark blue or black to. Okay. And then I'm going to use some of this white. A little bit of some reflection. And then reflection on here. I'm going to go in with my just raw white and put that in. There you go. Just a little bit of detail in the background. Okay, let's go ahead and do our ocean and our mountains. The mountains, I'm gonna go ahead and get a flat brush for this because it's just gonna be the easiest. I'm gonna use a combination of my light blue and my medium blue. I'm gonna start with my light blue, and this is going to be the kind of base coat for the mountain. And by using this brush, it kind of just helps get those tops, mountain tops in. And the mountains do not have to be exactly the same as the reference. It is just that. It is the reference. And actually, I'm going to use a little bit of the dark color for the bottom, now that I think about it. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of both mixed in, and that's okay. And remember that this is kind of a little bit abstract, so it's okay if, you know, it doesn't look too realistic. We're having fun with this one. This is your sign that you need to let go a little bit. Just have fun. If you go slow and just kind of wiggle your brush a little bit, you can get in all of the crevices a little bit easier, or you can add just a tad bit of water to your paint. And I'm going to go on the bottom here with some white and just kind of brush that in a little bit. Alright, I'm going to rinse out my brush in my dirty water. And I'm going to grab just some plain white. It's okay if it has a little bit of blue in it, but just, you know, just for this part of it, I'm going to come in with the bottom and just put in some white and make sure that that bottom is blended a little bit. Into, and if you want to kind of go up from the right into that works great. Now we're going to continue coming down into this dark color, and I'm using the medium color for this. Maybe a little bit of black on the bottom here. And I'm just gonna use the same colors as the sky. So I'm actually gonna go into my dark, instead of the black, I'm gonna go into my dark blue. I'm gonna put that all along the bottom. And then we're slowly going to kind of work into our lighter color. I'm in my lighter blue now. I'm going to slowly work up, and I can work down. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to make a line where this ocean meets the mountains. It doesn't have to be super straight, just the best that you can. And you can keep, as long as you go side to side, this ocean is going to look perfect. Alright, I'm going to go in with just a little bit of white. And I'm going to start putting little lines in and just blending that in, giving a little bit of light. I'm going to make it lighter over here on the right side than the left. And I'm going to go into my darker color over here on the right. And you're gonna just do this while it's all wet. That's totally fine. So I'm going into my dark colors over here on the left side as well as on the bottom. And if you don't want to make it as choppy as the water that's in the picture, that's okay too. I don't think I'm going to make mine as choppy. Again, we're just using this as a reference, but it doesn't have to be exact, you know? I'm just going to do that. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to grab some white. I'm just going to go over this section again. You could even go into some of the blue for the light parts over here, because white might look a little bit too bright over here. And I'm just doing little strokes. And if it comes out a little bit too defined, you can just take your finger, kind of rub over it a little bit. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now that this is all dry, for the most part, we're gonna go in and give a little bit of detail. You can use a palette knife for this, you can use your texture brush. It's totally up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and just get my texture brush, and I'm going to go ahead and put some dark parts on here first. And the dark parts go on the left side of the mountains. There we go. I'm losing my words. So you're just gonna put dark on the left side of anywhere where there is shadows. And remember, you can always come back in and lighten it up. And now I'm going to come back in with some white and do the same thing, but over on the left side. I had originally planned on doing a palette knife for this, but I think that the mountains are a bit too small for me to get the effect that I want. So I think doing it this way is totally fine. And it's just another tool that you can use for your mountains. All right, so same dealio. I'm just getting the water out of my brush. Part of this is making sure that your brush is dry. So if your brush is not dry enough, you're gonna want to dry it off more. I'm gonna start over here on the left side. And you're just going to, just like you would a sorry, let me think. When I'm doing this, I have a hard time talking. Just like you would with a palette knife, you're just going to angle your brush in a way that would reflect the mountain. You can also add mountains in front. And you're mainly just working with the ones in the front on the right side. And for the bottom, you can go ahead and add your snow, and then you can just brush up. Again, using your dry brush, make sure that it is dry because it'll grab the texture of the canvas easier, which will give you kind of that snowy effect anyways. And you're gonna wanna do this because this is gonna pop. This is gonna make those, it's gonna make them pop from the ocean. And then you can always add more texture by dabbing your brush. You can even come back in and put in some other mountains by adding the dark sections in front of it, like that. All right, I think this is probably enough for our mountains. You could probably do you can put as much work into these as you want. They are quite addicting and quite fun. And just make sure that they blend in with the bottom snow area. And that all blends in. Kind of gives it this misty effect too. What I think I'm going to effectively do here is I have barely any on my brush, and I'm just going to go over the top of that and kind of give it a misty effect. Just adding a couple more highlights to the water to match how bright it is over here, just to replicate that. I think that's good. Now is the fun part. The only thing we have left to do is the Orca. So let's go ahead and finish that. The first thing we're going to do is paint the undercoat. I'm going to get out my my small filbert right here, and we're going to paint this white. We're going to paint all of this pretty much white, at least on the undercoat, and then I am going to have just the slightest bit of pink to it, and this will kind of help me figure out where it all is. And I'm just mixing that on the canvas. If you want to pre-mix the color, you totally can. And there's a little bit of a shadow right here. You can add with a tiny bit of purple. And I'm gonna go ahead and get out my texture brush. And put in a dark purpley black color. And then I'm going to make it blend into a purple color right here. Rinse off my brush. I'm going to go into some blue. Blend that all together. And I think instead of black, I'm gonna go more blue blending. I just think that that's gonna look better than the black. So I might change that. And then I'm going to come back behind this and just blend it and blend it in. With what we've already put on here, which is this kind of pinky white. If you need to go back into that white and or pink, feel free to do that and get it kind of re-get it wet a little bit. So that you can blend it. But there is going to be a lot of bold strokes in here, so it's okay if it's not blended perfectly. I bet you guys love when I say that. Like, it's okay that it's not blended perfectly. Oh, good, thank you, because I have a hard time blending. I bet a lot of you are like, oh, thank goodness. I'm gonna bring the white color a little bit further into this section of it, because that kind of gives it its shape. So starting at the top, I'm just going to blend this over. And then blend it down. And that's, wow, that actually came out really good. It's really bright. I'm gonna do a little bit of this lighter blue here. And blend that in just a little bit. And then I'm going to do essentially the same thing over here by adding that. First, I'm just going to add that white to pretty much the whole section. This is a smaller section, so it won't take as long. So first we got that white over there. And then we're going to come in with a little bit of the blue on the bottom. I'm going to wipe off my brush, and then we go into a little bit of the pink. And I'm just going to pull that pink up a little bit into the rest of the white. And then I'm going to go into the other blue. I think I like that darker blue rather than the black. So I'm just going to do that, and that's going to darken that section up. And this side kind of goes up here because we do have a little bit of shadowing going on right here. So I am going to go into a little bit of that shadow color, which is just that darker blue right here. And maybe even the pink, make it a purpley color. Alright, now I'm going to go back in with my lighter blue color, that very tip of my blue color, and I'm going to just add that right on the edge. And I'm going to do that over here too, because that ending, the outside edge is a little bit it's a little bit wobbly. All right, that is looking so good. I love it. Okay, just so that these are a bit consistent, I am going to add just a tiny bit of a pinky blue to this other white section. Just ever so slight color change, just to keep it consistent. And then this one back here is actually going to be on the bluer side. It's kind of in the shadows. So whatever color you have, like right here, I would say, just copy and paste that color over there. If anything, it might need to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to go into the the darker blue. All right, that looks great. Oops. Okay, dropped my brush. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and just finish this out. We only have a couple details left on our Orca, so let's go ahead and do the one that's in the back. I'm gonna grab my filbert, my small filbert, because it's kind of got a round section to it anyways, and that's gonna help me get these round parts. I'm gonna do black on the outer edge. Okay, so I put black on pretty much all the edge and kind of left the inside part free from paint, because we are going to add, our light blue, sorry, dark blue, like medium blue, is that what it is? I'm gonna add my blue here. And I'm just going to gently kind of brush it in. Maybe I'll just add some pure phthalo blue to the middle here. So I think that's kind of all we need for that section. And then for the very outside, I'm going to take some of my light blue, kind of like my light teal, And the first stroke is kind of just taking off that black a little bit. And I think I want to fix this part. I just feel like it's a little bit too big. And I can come back with this blue. And you can just kind of blend in the edge of it just a little bit, so it gives the illusion that it kind of, you know, the fin is a little bit on the rounder side at the, you know, at the top, at the tip, or like at the edge of it. And each time I'm going back into my color, I'm rinsing off my brush first, so that it can, so I can go in with a clean brush. I'm gonna go into some, sorry, I got distracted with my top color here, and I'm going to come in with a dark blue rather than the black. And I'm going to blend it with the blue that I just put on there. I just don't really like that black. It's a little bit too harsh for me. Now that I'm not distracted on that anymore, you can just kind of keep working on this outer edge. And if it's not coming out as bright as you want it, you're gonna need to wait until it is dry. For instance, mine keeps blending in with the black, so I'm just gonna let it dry, and then I'll come back in a little bit. I am gonna put on some more of this phthalo blue right here. Alright, and now I'm going to go in with my black on this section right here. Again, I'm doing black on the edges, and I'm going to fill in the center with some bright colors. Alright, so we're going to fill in the middle, rinse out my brush, fill in the middle with this blue. And I'm going to grab some of this light blue. I'm going to grab some of the plain Phthalo Blue, play with that a little bit. I'm gonna be bold with my strokes and just leave it like that, which is really hard because I really like blending things. Alright, so now I'm going to fill in this part with black, section right here. Just any of this section in the tail that is black. Just gonna go ahead and do that now. All right. Okay, I wanted to make this a little bit darker, so I just kind of put some black over it and then mixed it in with a little bit of blue. But you can do it kind of however you want to. Just kind of blending in something I put on the bottom section. Okay. The one thing you want to make sure is that this curve meets up with this one. So I'm just going to make sure that that line makes sense. I just kind of brought down that section. Okay, so that works. And then now we can start adding our colors to this section. I'm gonna go in with some pink. And I'm gonna go in with my purple. And I'm gonna go in with my blue. Why not? And any other color you still have. I'm gonna go in with some bright phthalo blue right here. You can always come in and cover it up with black, but I think getting that bright color is really nice. I'm gonna go in with some purple right here. And we're gonna do some bright green color. Maybe some bright blue. And when I say bright blue, I just mean that phthalo blue color. Versus the light blue. Get some purple in here. I'm gonna come in with some bright blue / dark blue and maybe a little bit of black. Around this area. And then go back into my lighter blue. And whenever I go into a lighter color, I typically will rinse my brush off first before I do that. I get a tad bit more phthalo blue out, just because I really like this beautiful blue color. Rinse out, get all that water out of my brush. And I'm just gonna try to be bold with these colors. Do a couple one strokes here and there. I'm gonna go into my black and I'm going to do the fin. Yeah, dorsal fin. If you want it to be free willy, you can always adjust it to be that. Very specific dorsal fin. Very recognizable dorsal fin, I should say. Rinse off my brush a little bit. Maybe I'll go in a little bit. A little bit of that light, maybe a little bit of the pinkish color. Alright, I'm going to go more into the black and clean up the eye. Technically it's not the eye. And we are almost done. We're just gonna give the face a little bit of love. And I went down a little bit too far, so I'm just gonna grab a clean brush and go up. And I'm gonna put this all in black so that I can go over it with the other colors. I think I went a little too far, so I'm just going to redo that section. Now it's gonna look a little off right now because some of this is actually light. So we're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna work on the eye and then add our colors, and then we'll be all done. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of pink and do this section right here, a little lip. A little darker over here. And then it kind of goes into a white section. So I'm just going to clean that up a little bit and then blend it in. With maybe adding even some purple. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the eye real quick. I'm going to take some white, maybe have a tiny bit of blue in it, and go ahead and put it over the top layer. I'm gonna grab just some plain white, put it over the rest of it. Then I'm going to take a liner brush and I'm going to grab some black. I'm going to do a little line through it. And then I'm going to do another oval. I'm just gonna kind of make that little eye. And then you can always come back through and darken it once it dries, or right after, depending on how your paint is cooperating. All right, I'm gonna take my light blue and I'm gonna be bold and just put in some of these strokes. Bold with my paint. Go in with my purple. Add it down here. And I'm going to go in with my pink. I'm going to go up the back. Put a little pink accent right here. And with barely anything on my brush, that's what kind of created that. You're gonna create some highlights. Hey, we're gonna use our finger because it's fun. I'm gonna get some, it's kind of like a light pinky color. But honestly, any kind of light color will work fine. And you're just going to add your highlights. And that should pretty much be it, with the exception of the highlights on top. But that is all included in your highlights. I'm gonna get a smaller brush and get my blue. And I'm going to go into my white for this top section. I'm going to add another kind of lighter blue coat in here in the other one. Maybe a couple lighter strokes mixed in. And I'm going to go ahead and add one more highlight, which is on this side. Alright, so I'm adding a little bit of highlight to this top fish. And And the highlight will could be like kind of underneath, I feel like, because that's kind of where this is. And then we're going to add a little bit more. Under here. And if you have yet to add the highlight over here, then you can do that now. All right, and that is pretty much it. You can add any other colors that you feel like would help enhance this. You can add more blue, more purple, or whatever other colors you are using. I'm going to add a little bit more blue over here. But I think that that is pretty much all I want to do for this. So thank you so much for joining. If you are not on my Facebook group yet, it is a free Facebook artist group where we share our work, and I would love it if you can share your work with me and others over on that page. It's free to join, and you can also go into the albums section of that Facebook group, and you can see any and every painting class I've ever painted, as well as on Facebook, as well as on YouTube and Patreon. And speaking of Patreon, I forgot to show you what we were working on. So hopefully you stayed till the end. Let me show you what we've been working on this month in our Cobalt class, which is the it is the $20 tier. We work week by week, going through all of our full painting. So we work week by week, and this is where we are with that. We're doing this beautiful horse and little girl. So if you have a hard time with people and color and skin color, or horses and animals, this is a fun one. We've only done 2 sessions on this, so we have 2 more to go. So at the end of the month, when we do our next live class, I will show you the full painted version of this, and I'm excited to do that. And then we also have in Patreon, we did a very colorful bear. So if you like color, kind of like this class that we're doing right now, if you enjoy color, this was a lot of fun. I have 4 other ones like this in my Patreon. We have an elephant, a giraffe, a lion, as well as a rhino. So you guys can go paint those as well, and that is in the Magenta tier level. That is the $10 tier level, and you get an exclusive tutorial just for my Patreon. So with any of my Patreon tiers, once you are in there at that tier level, you have access to everything I've ever posted for that tier level. So it includes all the classes prior to this date. So I look forward to painting with you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time, same time, same place. Bye guys.